All right, here are solutions for quiz 1 for Math 211. A couple of problems here. In the first one, we're at the DMV to make reference to a problem we did in class. And there's this large digital clock up on the wall showing the time in hours, minutes, and seconds. And every second you look up at the clock. And anytime you see a 3 anywhere in the display, you tap your foot. Why are you doing all this? I don't know. I couldn't come up with anything too clever. Hopefully this will illustrate the points that I was hoping to get you to have learned. So in the first part here, you're entering at 1 o'clock and you leave at 1:10. And the question is, how many times did you tap your foot? I think it helps to break this into chunks. So maybe I'll make a table to summarize my results. So maybe here's my start time, here's my end time, and this will keep track of my number of taps, foot taps. So if we start, let's see, reasonable chunk to break this into maybe is from 1 o'clock. So 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, all the way up to 1. How about, let's say, 1 o'clock and 59 seconds, maybe. So note that the hour won't change at all and the minute won't change at all. All that's changing is the second. And so I have 60 seconds from 0 up to 59. And the question is, how many of those 60 contain a 3 in them? How about, let's write this over to the side. Well, let's see, I guess 0, 3 would be my first one, and 1, 3 would be my second one, and 2, 3 would be my third one. And then I will have 3, 0, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, all the way up to 3, 9. So I kind of get 1, maybe times 1 here, times 1 here, times 1 here. But in this range, I get 10 of them. Every second from 30 up to 39 will have a 3 in them. And then I get 43 and 53. And each of those just once. And if I sum these all up, I get 15. So what that tells me is that from 1 o'clock to 1 o'clock and 59 seconds, I would tap my foot 15 times. Maybe an arrow to kind of illustrate what I'm doing here. And I have to go all the way up to 1:10. So let's see, I can go from 1:01 up to 1:01 and 59 seconds. And yeah, you could do similar analysis that you did over here, but you might recognize that your only 3s are going to appear in the seconds column, and you're going to have the exact same amount. You're going to end up with 15 more taps. And similarly, from 1:02 to 1:02 and 59 seconds, you can have the same thing, 15 taps. 1:03 is where things get kind of interesting, I guess. So from 1:03 and 0 seconds to 1:03 and 59 seconds, every single second, I'll look up at the display and I'll see a 3 because the 3 in the minutes isn't changing here. And I might have more in the seconds, but really that doesn't matter. I'm guaranteed to have at least 1 3 because of the minutes column here. So every second from 1:03 to 1:03 and 59 seconds, how many seconds are in there? Well, there's 60 seconds in there, counting from 0 up to 59. So I get 60 more here. And that'll be the only weird one. Then I can look at 1:04 up to 1:04, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or maybe I'll write it a little bit neater, but kind of shortcut things. Let's say from 1:04 and 0 seconds all the way up to 1:09 and 59 seconds. So what I now have are a bunch of these chunks that each have 15 in them. How many chunks do I have? Well, I have the one starting at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I have 6 of these chunks. So I would say 6 times 15 is what would go here, which ends up being 90. And then I guess I should count the 1:10 at the end here. 1:10, 0, 0 to 1:10, 0, 0. You could argue that you didn't even have to put that in there because there's 0 3s in that 1 second. But just so you can see that I start at 0 and end at 1:10, I'm going to write it. And then I'm going to sum these all up. Let's see, 90 and 60 gives me 150. And then I got 3 more of these 15s, which gives me 45 more. So I think I get 195 taps total. And so that would be my answer to this question. Other ways I'm sure you could get there, but maybe I will call that good and move on. B here is pretty similar, except now you're kind of given the answer and asked the question. So you enter at 1 o'clock, and you know that the answer, the number of times you tap your foot, is exactly 500, so more than this. And what you're asked is how long will that take? And so what I can do is I can set up something kind of similar to keep track. Start, end, and taps. And I know from above that if I start at 1 o'clock and I end at 1, let's see, let's do 109 and 59 seconds, then I'm going to tap my foot 195 times. And you're like, wait, above we ended at 110, not 109.59. Yeah, that's true, but there were no taps in that last second. So we still get 195 in this time period. And the reason I broke it up into this interval is because what I can do now is say from 110 exactly to 119 in 59 seconds, I would get exactly 195 more taps. And so remember, I'm trying to get up to 500, so we can kind of keep a running tally out here to the side. 500 minus 195 leaves me with 305. And then 305 minus 195 leaves me with 110. And then you don't want to subtract another 195. You only want 110 taps. So we can go back up here and figure out when will we have 110 taps. Well, let's see. We would get 15. We need 110 more. Here's 15 of them. Here's another 15. Now I'm up to 30. Here's another 15. Now I'm up to 45. Here's another 60. So now I'm up to 105. So what I'm going to say is from 120 and 0 seconds all the way up to, and I'm going to account for these first three 15s here. So 122 and 59 seconds. I would get 3 of these groups of 15. And so now my running tally over here, I do 110 minus 45, and I end up with 65. So I need 65 more. I'm currently right here. I could get 60 more by doing the next minute. So I can go from 123 and 0 seconds all the way up to 123 and 59 seconds and get another 60. So I got 65 minus 60, which leaves me with just 5 more. So when will I see my next 5? Well, let's see, I guess 124 and 3 seconds. Should be another colon in here. Will be one of them. 124 and 13 seconds would be the next one. 124 and 23 seconds would be the next one. 124 and 30 seconds would be the next one. And I would finally get my 5th one. So maybe I'll do something like this. This gives me 5. And then if you sum all of these, you get 500. 5 plus 195 plus 195 plus 45 plus 60. So my last one here would be at 125 and 31 seconds. So for my answer, I'll say, so it happens at 125 and 31 seconds, or 25 minutes 31 seconds after you enter. All right, so that ends up being the answer there. I guess I'll accept either of these two, but really what it asks is how long will it take? So I guess the answer should be this guy right here. But if you gave me that, whatever, I'm pretty happy. All right, second one. On my farm I have goats and chickens. Hopefully you know that goats have 4 feet. Or I guess legs, is that what I'm talking about? 4 legs. And chickens only have 2. So I own 100 animals and they have 320 legs. How many chickens do I have? Well, if I own 100 total animals, the goats plus the chickens must be equal to 100. This is kind of my animals equation, where G represents the number of goats and C represents the number of chickens. I can then come up with a legs equation, except now I want to take the number of goats, G, and multiply it by 4. And I want to take the number of chickens, C, and multiply it by 2. And the sum of those two products has to be equal to 320. And so I have a system of linear equations, lots of different ways you could solve it. One way, as I showed you guys in class, is to take this equation and multiply both sides of this equation by -2. So maybe I'll write that here. I'm going to multiply by -2. That gives me -2g minus 2c equals -200. And I'll leave everything else alone. So this guy, I'm just going to carry this over for g plus 2c equals 320. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sum these two equations. -2g plus 4g leaves me with positive 2g. -2c plus 2c leaves me with nothing. And 320 plus -200 leaves me with 120. So therefore 2g equals 120, or g is equal to 60. It doesn't ask me for g. It doesn't ask me how many chickens I have. It asks me how many, or sorry, it doesn't ask me how many goats I have. It asks me how many chickens I have. But if I have 60 goats, and I know that I have a total of 100 animals, I can say that I must have 40 chickens. If you don't like jumping from here to here, you could take this g equals 60 and plug it back into either of these two equations, whichever makes you happy, and solve for c. But I think in this case it's fairly obvious that if you have 60 goats and 100 total animals and the rest of them are chickens, well, you must have 40 chickens. So my answer would be c equals 40. And I guess that's the end of this quiz.